All right, picture this for a second. You're in your quarters, just starting your day, completely unaware of the danger that's closing in, and then boom, chaos erupts.
Yeah, that's the reality of a surprise attack.
A tactic that's been around forever.
Oh, absolutely. As old as warfare itself. And for someone in the military like you, this isn't just ancient history. It's about staying sharp, being ready for anything.
So today we're diving into Clausewitz.
Right into On War, specifically chapter 19 of book 7, where he breaks down attacks on armies in cantonments.
Okay, cantonments. For those of us who haven't worn a uniform.
Sure, in Clausewitz's time, it meant an army kind of spread out, relaxed, not in battle formation.
Taking a breather.
Exactly. More for logistics than anything.
Not quite sitting ducks, but...
Not exactly battle-ready either. And that's what Clausewitz is getting at. He says this seemingly defensive posture is actually a prime target.
Interesting. Because it's not truly defensive, is it?
Exactly. It's not true defense if you're not actively engaging or dug in, and that's where the element of surprise can be absolutely devastating.
Makes sense. Harder to surprise an enemy that's already locked and loaded.
Precisely. Clausewitz identifies 4 main advantages of hitting an army in this more vulnerable state. First, you disrupt their assembly. Throw a wrench in their ability to get organized and respond effectively.
Imagine trying to, muster your troops and get into formation while you're under sudden fire.
Total chaos.
Yeah. And in modern warfare, with everything so reliant on logistics, communication, coordinated movement, that kind of disruption, man, that could be crippling.
Absolutely. Now, the second advantage Clausewitz points to is you can really exploit initial weaknesses. When an army is caught off guard, their units are spread out, not in their optimal fighting formation. They may not have all the information they need.
They're scrambling.
Exactly. And that creates a window of opportunity to inflict some serious damage before they can even fully mobilize.
So it's not just about speed and chaos. It's about hitting them when they're at their weakest.
Exactly. Now think about how this translates to modern warfare. Instead of cavalry charges, you're talking about crippling communication systems, taking out command centers, neutralizing key assets like airfields before they can even get off the ground. The principle is the same. You're maximizing the impact during those critical early moments.
Hit them hard and fast before they even know it hit them.
Precisely. And this leads us to the third advantage, forcing smaller engagements. Clausewitz argues that by launching a surprise attack, you can essentially fragment that enemy force, forcing them into smaller, more manageable skirmishes instead of one big head-on clash.
Classic divide and conquer.
Exactly. You chip away at their strength, you chip away at their morale through these smaller victories, and you gain a huge psychological advantage.
How do you eat an elephant?
There you go.
One bite at a time.
And speaking of psychological impact, that's Clausewitz's fourth advantage. He understood that warfare is as much a battle of minds as it is a clash of armies.
That element of shock and awe. You're not just disrupting their formations, you're shaking their confidence, their ability to even think straight.
Exactly. That sudden realization that they're on the back foot before they've even had a chance to process what's happening.
Yeah.
That can be incredibly difficult to overcome, even for the most seasoned military force.
So it sounds like surprise can really shake things up on the battlefield, but it's not a guaranteed ticket to victory, is it?
Right. Clausewitz makes it clear that even the most well-planned surprise attack, you can't control everything.
Things happen.
There are always factors, the terrain, the weather, luck. He's got some historical examples to back this up.
Okay, so let's dig into those examples a little bit. We're
Yeah.
talking about attacks on armies and cantonments, the kind of spread out state. What kind of historical situations did he pull from?
Well, he looks at a few. One is the French Marshal Turenne. In 1643, Turenne, he's leading a smaller force. He completely surprises this larger imperial army at Duttlingen. They were spread out in winter quarters, didn't see it coming. Total victory for Turenne.
Sounds like a textbook case. But you said he had a couple of examples.
Yeah, because just a year later, 1644, Turenne, he's on the receiving end at Mergentheim.
Oh.
The tables are turned. This time he's caught off guard, but he's able to regroup, avoid complete disaster.
So a mixed bag for Turenne. What's the takeaway? What's Clausewitz trying to show us with these two battles?
That even when you understand surprise, victory is not a given.
Right.
The specifics matter. The terrain, the troops, the overall situation, it all plays a role.
It's a reminder that war is never predictable.
Never. No matter how well you plan, how well you know the theory.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean we can't learn from the past.
Absolutely not. And Clausewitz doesn't just analyze, he actually gives us a framework for planning a surprise attack.
Right.
7 key points.
7 key points, okay.
Still relevant today?
Wow.
Ah.
Okay, even in our modern high-tech world. So what's the first thing we need to know?
Attack on a wide front. You want to maximize that surprise, sow chaos, make it hard for the enemy to focus their defenses.
It's like that classic movie scene. The heroes are surrounded, and then reinforcements come charging in from every direction.
Exactly.
Except in this case, it's the attackers who are doing the surrounding.
Exactly. But it's not just about creating chaos for the sake of it.
Right.
Clausewitz's second point, you got to converge on a decisive point.
Okay.
So you're spreading out to surprise, but you also need to focus your forces on a specific location that gives you the advantage.
The 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Spread out, disorient, then hit them hard where it counts.
You got it. And that is where points 3 and 4 come in. Boldness, momentum. You got to maintain that pressure, keep the enemy off balance, don't let them regroup, don't let them counterattack.
Strike hard, strike fast, and don't let up.
Exactly. Now, when you do engage the enemy, Clausewitz's fourth point, outflank. Don't just meet them head on.
Classic flanking maneuver. Always spells trouble for the other guy.
For good reason.
Yeah.
It's surprise all over again, but on a tactical level.
You're hitting them from an angle they didn't expect, throwing their formations into chaos, could send them into a full retreat.
Exactly. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Clausewitz's fifth point, he talks about a balanced force and specifically calls out the cavalry.
Okay, now that one seems a little outdated, right? I mean, cavalry charges aren't exactly standard procedure these days.
No, not so much. But the principle still holds. He recognized that cavalry, they had speed, maneuverability, could exploit a breakthrough, and those qualities are still essential in modern warfare.
So instead of cavalry, today we're talking about tanks, mechanized infantry, heck, maybe even drone strikes.
Right. Anything that can deliver that punch, exploit the opening you've created.
Exactly. It's about having the right tools for the job, whatever those tools may be.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered 5 of Clausewitz's points for a successful surprise attack.
We have.
What about the last 2?
Okay, so point number 6. He's really big on aggressive reconnaissance.
Even during a surprise attack.
Yeah, and you might think, well, wait a minute, I'm trying to be sneaky here. Why am I pushing reconnaissance?
Yeah.
But he says, look, once that initial surprise is gone,
Right.
you got to shift gears fast. You need intel to stay ahead of the game.
So don't just rely on that initial shock. Actively seek out information so you can counter their moves.
Exactly. And then the 7th point, and this is a big one, always, always have an exit strategy.
Don't get so caught up in the attack that you forget about the possibility of retreat.
Exactly. Sometimes a well-timed withdrawal.
Right.
That's the smartest move you can make.
He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day, right?
There you go.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from this idea of armies and cantonments to Clausewitz's 7 points for a successful surprise attack. But the big question is, how does any of this apply to modern warfare? I mean, we're living in a world of satellites, instant communication, cyber warfare. It seems like technology should have made a surprise attack obsolete.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But look at Pearl Harbor, even with radar. The Japanese, they achieved total surprise, changed the course of World War II.
And then you've got the Yom Kippur War. Israel, known for their intelligence gathering, caught completely off guard.
Exactly. And those examples, they show us that what Clausewitz was talking about, it's still relevant today. The battlefields may have changed, but the human element, the ability to deceive, to find those vulnerabilities, that hasn't gone anywhere.
So even in our high-tech world, those 4 advantages we discussed, disrupting assembly, exploiting weakness, those smaller engagements, the psychological impact, those are still the keys to a successful surprise attack.
They are. Think about cyber warfare. A well-coordinated cyber attack, it can cripple communication, coordination, deployment.
Right.
It's essentially a 21st century version of disrupting assembly, exploiting weakness.
It's like you're cutting off their nervous system before they can even move a muscle.
Exactly. And that psychological impact, the fear, the uncertainty, it's just as real as any physical damage.
So Clausewitz is writing about muskets and cannons, but it's still relevant in the age of cyber warfare and drone strikes. That's kind of amazing when you think about it.
It is. It speaks to his ability to cut through all the noise and find those timeless principles that apply no matter what the tech is.
So as we wrap up here, what's the key takeaway for someone listening to this, someone who might be on the front lines someday?
Constant vigilance, adaptability. No matter how advanced we get, we can't eliminate surprise completely.
Always expect the unexpected.
Exactly. Always be thinking ahead, anticipating those threats, questioning assumptions. Never get complacent.
Words to live by.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we've done a pretty good job of breaking down this chapter of On War, and it's a good reminder that studying history, especially military history, it's not about memorizing names and dates. It's about understanding those timeless principles, strategy, leadership, human nature,
Absolutely.
things that are just as important today as they ever were. And on that note, Clausewitz reminds us, victory is never guaranteed. But by studying the past, embracing that adaptability, never underestimating the human element, we can prepare ourselves for the challenges ahead.
Well said.